Hello, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel. My name is Dal Baroxeretti, whatever you decide to call me. I am giving you my settings just in case you want to try them out or give you a starting point if you're kind of new or if you feel like things are not quite setting up. The title's definitely a little bit of clickbait because there is no best settings. It's all completely personal for the person, right? So I'm just going to give you what I have, and hopefully it'll be a good starting point, or you can make a couple little tweaks and see if it works better for you. I am a mid diamond player in rank. I'm not the best player in the world, but I am above average, and I've been climbing recently with some of these little changes that I've made. I'm live very regularly if you guys would like to tune in and check that out. But without further ado, we'll get into what my settings are here and see if I can't break some things down for you, right? So, for my button layout, I use default because I have a Razer Wolverine controller. I've got 4 paddles on the back, and then I have 2 extra buttons on the top. That's designed for claw gamers. I'm not claw, but I do use them for a couple little things. If you're not using a controller with paddles, I highly recommend Hell Jumper. I know all the big names will tell you bumper jumper, but that's because they're old heads and really that's it. They're old heads. With bumper jumper, you aim by clicking the right analog stick. With hell jumper, you still aim with clicking the left trigger. So it'll feel a lot more natural to you if you didn't grow up playing bumper jumper because they introduced hell jumper in Halo 5. But moving on, never, ever should you use vibration in a competitive setting. I don't care what anybody says. Now, if you're not competitive, you're not playing rank, do whatever you want with that. Hold to crouch, hold zoom, maintain sprint, and step up. We don't want auto clamber because that'll get you killed sometimes. You'll just like stop shooting when you're jumping through the air to grab a ledge or something. It's very annoying. And step jump makes it to where if you walk into a wall and then you press the jump button, you'll do a shorter jump to get on that little ledge, like say the window on street in that little room that's over by the diner. Zoom reset, we want legacy because it makes it to where when you unzoom, you go back to default. I know unless you're playing like BTB or something, you're not really going to adjust your zoom level, but it's very awkward when you get shot and you get de-scoped, say you're at 10 times on the S7 sniper, and then you try to do a quick scope, and now you're at 10 times zoom again, and it's very awkward. We go back to legacy, that way it resets you to the lowest zoom every time you zoom in. Aim magnetism, aim assist, right? If you don't have that on, you're psychotic. But hey, if you're crazy, you're crazy. Look acceleration, I have it at 3 because I feel like the default is just a little too slow for when you're getting shot from behind. A lot of times, if you're getting shot from behind and they don't have terrible aim, you're generally going to die anyway. But at least with a little bit higher looks acceleration, you're able to get spun around, get shots in them, get an assist instead of just dying. I use 6.5 for my sensitivity. That's just what feels best for me. That one's completely personal preference, but it's like it's that mid range. It's quick enough for little snappy movements, but it's not so high that you feel like you're going everywhere if you're used to a lower sensitivity. Plus, with not having look acceleration higher than 3, it's more manageable because your acceleration's not kicking in right away. For zoom level sensitivity, the game doesn't really explain this too well, so I'll see if I can. 1.5 on the sensitivity scale for whatever zoom level you pick is a 1-to-1 ratio for what your sensitivity is. So my 6.5 is applied at 1.5 for right now we're showing 1.4, right? So 1.4 is all of your doesn't matter type weapons pretty much, right? You've got your AR, your SMG, your whatever, full autos, pistols, all of that is 1.4. 1.6 is your bandit, and 2.5 is your BR. I have all of those on a 1-to-1 ratio because with the erratic movement in Halo, I want my zoom in sense the same as my normal hip fire sense because you hip fire a lot more in an arena shooter than you do most games. And I want that as a 1-to-1 ratio so I'm not thrown off a little bit. 3 3.0 is your stalker rifle and your shock rifle. I put all of my precision weapons at a 1.0. So the reason for that is if you have experience with other first person shooters, a 1.0 sensitivity or the default feels like somewhere between a zero point 0.8 and a 0.85 modifier in other shooters. So if you come from something like Call of Duty and you're used to your aim down sight speed being a little bit slower than your hip fire speed, keep it on default or lower it a little bit if that's your personal preference. I have all of my precision weapons on default, so it's around that 0.8, 0.85 feel from other games because obviously with the main precision weapons, if you're zooming in, you want that little bit more control, or at least I do. So your 3.0 is your shock rifle, the first part of your stalker rifle. 5.0 is your skewer and your sniper. 6.0 is your stalker rifle and your skewer at 2 times or second zoom level. And 10 is your sniper rifle at second zoom level. So I've got all of those at 1.0, and then everything under a 3.0 I have at 1.5 for the 1-to-1 ratio. Trigger dead zones, leave those default. Um, unless you have like really bad triggers, but if your controller is so messed up you have bad triggers, you probably just need to upgrade your controller anyway. For the move thumbstick, we want 0 for the center dead zone. We're going to do that for both sticks. That way we can get the maximum amount of aim assist, right? Any little bit of movement that you can keep continuous engages your aim assist. So if you have stick drift, you're just going to bump that up 0.1 at a time until you lose stick drift, but as soon as you lose it, leave it. Max input for the move thumbstick, I have at 15. It's not too much crazier than the default, but it's with the max input threshold, it's basically a linear setting instead of a ramp up. Pretty self-explanatory. The less movement in your stick to register a movement. So we want that for the movement thumbstick. That way we can have better strafes, better like jiggle peaks, whatever. Axial dead zone, I just copied my look. It doesn't really matter for the movement at all. Look thumbstick, once again, 0 for center, 0 for max input. So what that does is it allows us to have that little bit higher sensitivity that I have, which I say higher, but it's really not, the 6.5. It allows us to get more little movements out of it before our acceleration kicks in. Um, if you want a completely linear, like if you don't want any minor ramp up into your acceleration, put your max input on 15. I keep it on 0 because there's a lot of awkward movements in Halo with all the jumping, the crouching. You're always hip firing. Keep it on 0, a little bit steadier when you're not trying to do 180s. Axial dead zone, I have it at 8.0. You can have it higher if you want. It's just where it's comfortable for me. So to explain what axial dead zone is radial dead zone is a circle. Axial dead zone makes your thumbstick's dead zone a square. So with 8.0, it makes it to where I can keep it horizontal better as I'm moving across my screen left to right in the horizontal plane without it registering a diagonal move because you have that bigger window before the y-axis is registered. So the lower the axial dead zone, the more you'll get those unintentional diagonals. If you're just trying to keep on somebody, if you're tracking them to break their shield, you'll have less up and down in your reticle if you have a higher axial dead zone. But if you go too high, it could make it more difficult to snap up and hit the head. So I would say try 8 for that's where my sweet spot is, and then adjust it as you need to. For keybinds, it's all default because I have the pedals like I was talking about. Um, yeah, I haven't changed any of these. So over on keyboard and mouse, it's all the same up here. Aim, magnetism, all of that is exactly the same. I use 800 DPI on the mouse sensitivity 1.1, and then my sensitivity scale 1.0. I it feels the closest to my controller as far as the minor movements, but it is a little bit quicker for moving around. But I do have um acceleration of my mouse off because you're able to make bigger swipes with your arm than you are the controller. That's what I use. Feel free to start there if you want. Like I said, 800 DPI is what I use. So I'm a little bit of a slower sensitivity player, like I said at the start of the controller portion of this. For video, field of view, I use 105. For me, that is the happy middle ground. I tried 110 and it was just a little too far away. That's completely personal preference, but I wouldn't recommend anything less than 100 because you're going to be limiting your peripheral vision a little too much. And I have bad eyes, so going over 105 just makes it a little too difficult for me to track people in a mid to long range engagement. That's personal preference, but with my eyes, 105 works the best for me. I keep my resolution at 72% because it just helps not bog the computer down. My computer can handle it, but just push all the frames out you can. Minimum frame rate, I have it off. You can cap this if you want. I don't really see too much of a difference in that. Maximum frame rate, I have unlocked. I had it locked for a while, but I don't think that 343 ever fixed their issue where NVIDIA users have just random high pings for no reason sometimes. So uncapping this helps not deal with that. As far as sensitivity, as far as graphics go, this I have completely set up for competitiveness, right? I have everything as low as possible, except for a couple settings which you can change to match mine if you want, so that if you play BTB sometimes or some like firefight, you're able to see enemies at a farther distance. If you don't, you can turn most of these down to low as well. But texture quality ultra, it doesn't really pull any extra resources, makes the ground look better, and you can see some finer things on the ground at a distance. Decal quality high, that's for seeing the enemies at a much farther distance. So if you play Firefight BTB, put that on high. Animation quality max kind of helps with that as well. Same with simulation. You could turn this down and this down as well if you don't play BTB or Firefight where you want to see things at a really far distance. Other than that, everything off, everything low, no ray tracing, no blur, screen shake, all of this stuff that just gets on your screen for no reason, off. Sharpening up, makes the image a little more clear. Audio, 10 for the main volume, 4 for the voice, 0 for music, 0 for menu music, 10 sound effects, 0 environmental, and you can have hit detection if you want, but I don't like having the sound of hit markers. That one's personal preference. The only reason I have menu music at 2 and music at 1 here is just so that the video is not dead silent in between me talking. Imma turn those back to 0 when I'm done recording this video. Dynamic mode, compressed. Subtitles don't matter. My voice chat is pushed to talk. It's a little awkward since I mostly play on controller, but, um, I sit in front of my keyboard, so I do have it pushed to talk just so that if people come into my chat, I can talk to them without talking to the lobby too. If you're just playing controller normally, not streaming or whatever, keep that open if you like to communicate with your team. If not, turn it off. It's whatever, I guess. Search region. If you're not somewhere like Australia or something where you have to have it expanded, I keep it on local just for lower ping. I've been playing on expanded pretty much my whole time playing Halo, but going to local has stopped some of those random, really high laggy situations that occur just randomly because of the servers or whatever. I'm not positive what it is, but if you're in a place where you can do local and you're actually able to find games, do so. You if it's at like a really early time in the morning, you can't find games, you can switch that back to expanded. It just helps with your ping, keeping it on local if possible. HUD, this is personal preference again. I turn mine down to a point 3, point 2, just so that my HUD's a little less bright. Doesn't matter, but I just don't like it being bold in my face. I do have my frames and network statistics on, and that way in the top right hand screen, I can see if the game is having problems instead of my internet. Like if I start having really bad lag out of nowhere and I look up and see my ping is out of control, it's not me, it's the game. Alright, so this one is where it kind of matters a little bit. Enemy UI color and friendly UI color. By default, it's some kind of red and I think blue because that's what, you know, red and blue's always been the Halo thing. I switched enemies to yellow and I switched friendlies to green instead of blue because blue and green is what I associate with friendlies and red is what I've always associated with enemies because your crosshair turns red in most FPS shooters, right? But the human eye registers yellow faster than anything else, then green, then red. So I have the bright yellow pineapple for enemy UI just so I can see them a little bit quicker because I do like playing ranked. I'm competitive. And then my friendly color, I switched to green instead of blue just so that I can register friendly a little bit quicker too, right? Because with the friendly fire, you don't want to be chucking grenades at your teammates or just shooting them when you're on a quick spin or something. Just helps me personally register them all. For all of these, all the way up. 100% all the way up. It just makes it to where you keep you never have a situation where you don't know where your crosshairs is. It's just always visible, no matter how bright the enemy is, how bright the background is, whatever. You'll always be able to see your reticle. So turn opacity, thickness, outline opacity, and outline thickness all the way up. Um, UI visual effects, turn all of these off. They don't really do anything for you, and there's no reason for them to be on, in my opinion. Other than that, the only difference that I have is I use 50% horizontal offset, negative 100 vertical, and 100 on depth. That gives me the best weapon placement for me. Again, personal preference. You can try this and then change it if you want to, tweak it to make it fit you. but it makes it to where it's not in the middle of my screen. I can see everything. It's not over in my HUD where I'm struggling to see my ammunition or anything. This makes the most sense for me. It looks the best for everybody's. Most people are probably going to be a little bit different on this, but to me, it makes it to where I can see everything I need to see on my screen with no problem. Melee, I didn't adjust it because who cares, right? If you have an energy sword, it's not really in the way of anything anyway. So, I really hope this video helps somebody. Like I said, there is no best sensitivity, no best setting possible because it's always going to be personal preference. But I really hope this gives you a good starting point, or if you feel like something's a little out of whack, it helps bring it to where it's in a more reasonable manner. And if nothing else, maybe if you were confused by what a couple of these settings mean, hopefully I explained it good enough. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Leave a like, comment, consider subscribing so you don't miss when I go live or post a video. I go live pretty regularly. There's a link to my Discord and my Twitch in my description down below. Feel free to join any of my platforms. I would love to chat with y'all and play some games with you. And if this does help you, consider following me on one of those. If you follow my Discord, I have a bot that'll announce when I go live. I go live on Twitch and YouTube at the same time. So at least, if nothing else, if you go join my Discord, you can't miss that because the bot will tell you.